Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me. I love all of the mid-century stencils that are from A Colorful Life Designs, and this month there are a ton of new ones, and I'm so giddy about it, I can't even tell you. So we are going to be playing with the mid-century Mod Podge. I love this. This is probably my favorite stencil or stencil set from this particular release. I don't know. There are some other really good ones, but I love this one. So you can see it's just two stencils, really easy to line up. And we're going to be using some foil with this, which I'm really excited about. It's going to make this funky, cool stencil elevated. And I think it's going to look really rad. So I grabbed the Vacation Smooth Cardstock from scrapbook.com. There are some really great colors in here. And we're going to use one that I know I would struggle with at any other time. It's really not an Alison color at all, but we're going to use it because I really want to go with like a 70s color palette, and I think it's going to be rad. I have Ripe Persimmon Distress Oxide, and the reason I'm going with an Oxide is because since it's got pigment ink in it, it will be opaque, or more opaque than if you were to use Distress ink. So we need some opacity so that this color will be true on top of this color, because this is pretty strong. It's not like a pastel or anything. So we want to make sure that when we use our ink, we actually can see the color that we want. So to do this, I'm going to move this stuff off to the side a little bit. I have my 6x6 gel press plate. I really like using my plate when I am ink blending or stenciling or whatever. I find that it's really a lot easier than using tape. I still use Pixie spray depending on the stencil, but hopefully we won't, I don't know, we might want to use it for this guy. Yeah, this is pretty wiggly. I'm going to pull this off. I'm going to grab my Pixie spray. This is Pixie spray. This is from Therm O Web, and you shake it up and then you spray the back of your stencil, and then you let it dry down for about a minute, and then it stays tacky. So I'm not going to do it on camera, but I have this piece of cardboard. I'm going to just spray it real quick, and then we'll let it dry for a minute, and then it will stick nicely without leaving a residue on our cardstock. Okay, you can kind of see that it looks like there's a bit of a fuzz on the stencil now. Actually, there is, because I'm forever shedding. How about you? But that white fuzz is really the Pixie spray, and it doesn't damage your stencil at all. You can wash it off if you want to. I don't wash it off of mine. I leave it for the next time, so that this way I don't have to keep reapplying it. But you can see that now it's not wiggly. If there were connection points like here to here, here to here, then it wouldn't wiggle. But because it's just connected from the top and the bottom, that's why it moves. But the gel press is helping the rest of the stencil stay in place. Now this piece of cardstock is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I will probably cut it down because I like to have my focal panel at 4 by 5 1/4, but I wanted to just get it inked up first, and then we'll see what we see. I'll decide later, but most likely I'm going to cut it down. But I do like that these scrapbook.com pads come A2 size card front. Okay, so now I've got my mini ink blending tool and some Ripe Persimmon on here, and we're going to carefully try to get this color all over this piece of cardstock. And again, we've got that Pixie spray on there, but you don't want to purposely wiggle it. You don't want to do it too hard. This is all we're doing. Super simple. So I'm going to finish this up, and then we'll see what it looks like. All right, we're just about done. Just going to add a little bit more here to the corner. And you can see I'm not sweeping around in big circles. I'm just kind of pushing it and twisting the mini ink blending tool, and that is giving me a nice solid application. All right, time for the peel and reveal. And guys, we've got all of this ink on the back of the stencil here. You can totally use this, spritz it with water, throw it on a different piece of cardstock or paper, and now you've got a second panel. So you've got a total twofer here. I'm going to carefully pull this up. Oh, look at that. How cool is this? It's perfect. It's totally, totally perfect. I love it. That is some bold color right there. Okay. Now what we need to do is, I think I'm going to leave it on here and let this sit for a minute. I'm going to apply this to another piece of paper and I'll show you what it looks like. So I grabbed the Daybreak smooth cardstock from scrapbook.com, and you can see these colors are fabulous. But I decided to go with this like buttery yellow, and I sprayed that stencil and then applied it to the paper. And so it's not dry yet. You can see that it's still wet in a bunch of areas, and it's not really showing super great on camera, but it's a bit more visual. Not visual, a bit more obvious in person. So this is a nice start. I can definitely go in and add more color to those areas if I want to, and then go in with the second layer of the stencil and make a card out of this. But there's a twofer, which is very exciting. Okay, back to this guy. Now we need to apply this, and we don't need to use Pixie spray on this. There's no wiggly parts or anything. We're gonna just lay this on top and make sure that it's lined up. This is another nice reason to use a 6x6 plate, whether it's a gel press or something else that's this size, the size of the stencil, because if you know that you lined up the first stencil to the plate itself, you know that the second stencil is going to line up in the same spot, which, you know, sometimes layering stencils can be a little tricky. This one is not, but it's still nice to know that using this type of tool underneath makes things a little easier. All right, so we've got that lined up, and now I have Transfer Gel Duo for Deco Foil by Therm O Web. And we are going to, I just had to grab my palette knife, we're going to apply some of this paste to this second layer, let it dry. It will become kind of a clear, milky color, and it will be very sticky. And then that is how we will be able to apply our Deco Foil. So I don't really want to get the transfer gel onto my gel press plate. It's going to happen a little bit. I'm going to try to avoid it as much as I can. It will come off if I do a pull, take a piece of scrap paper and pull it off, but I just don't want to deal with this stickiness on the plate if I don't have to. So I'm going to try, see, I got some right there. I'm going to try to avoid it as much as I can. We'll see. I'm kind of making a mess right now. This is not usually how I apply my paste, but I'm trying to not have it on the plate. There we go. This is better. Or it was. I got an idea. I'm going to grab, I'm going to put a little bit more on here like so. This is way more than we need, and that's all right. You want to make sure that you have good coverage, and you can scrape the excess off. So what I'm going to do is grab this. This is a metal scraper or a paste spreader. I don't know if these are still available. They're kind of tricky to find. Usually they're made out of silicone or plastic now, but I happen to like the metal personally. Look at how nice all of these areas are. We just have to fix this a little bit. I don't really want it to look like that. Okay. That's better. Got a little bit happening over here. It'll be pretty smooth though. Okay. Now we're going to take this and scrape all of this excess back into our jar. And we want to quickly get the stencil off of the plate and the paper and get it right into water. I keep a basin with about 2 inches of water in it so that I don't have to keep running to a sink to clean everything off. Look at how good that looks already. Okay, that is in the basin. And now I'm going to carefully lift this off like so. Remove this little bit of whatever, and that is ready. So now we're going to just let this sit. It's going to take a couple of hours. It's a pretty thick layer that I applied. We're going to let it sit. When it's like milky, translucent color, it will be nice and tacky and ready to be foiled. Meanwhile, I'm going to clean this off. A few hours have passed, and you can see that this is nice and dry. Everything is crystal clear, The milkiness is gone. I think I might have said earlier that it looks a little milky, but that's incorrect. It's milky while it's drying. So if you see that effect, you know that it's not ready. You want all of the areas that you applied the paste to be nice and clear, and that's what I have here. So sorry about any confusion I may have caused. Make sure that it's not milky, but clear. So I chose Spring Green Deco Foil. This is such a great color. I think it's going to go really good with the 70s vibe that we've got going on. And I cut a piece down to fit on top of my panel. And I've got some siliconized paper here from Artistry. This is called protective paper, and this is typically what you use when you're using Artistry's sublimation products, like their sublimation acrylic paints or their markers. You use this to protect your iron or your heat press when you're actually doing the sublimation. And I've got videos on this. I'll probably have some new ones coming out soon so that I can explain some more. But I like to use this whenever I'm using my Deco Foil. It works really well, and so that's what I use. So if you've got some of this protective paper from Artistry, I recommend you give it a shot. So I am just laying this piece of foil right on top of my panel. I'm going to fold this piece of protective paper in half, and I've got my, I think it's 17 or 18-year-old laminator from Purple Cows right here. I'm pretty sure these are no longer available. I'll link another one in my description box. Gina K just came out with her own. You can definitely use that, but I'll link something in my description box since I don't think that these guys are available anymore. So I've got my panels butted up against the fold line here so that the laminator accepts it well. You can see that my green light is on. It's been on for a little while, so I know that this is good and hot. Move the cord out of the way. Now with the Transfer Gel Duo, you can use a laminator like this, or you can use your die cut machine to apply the foil. I personally prefer the laminator. I find that I get better results with this than I do with my die cut machine. I find that with the pressure of my die cut machine, it tends to squish the transfer gel a little bit, and with the laminator, it does not. You're free, of course, to experiment however you like. I'm going to carefully peel this back a little bit and see how it looks. I'm going to see if it transferred completely. That is looking pretty good. I think we're good. Oh, look at that. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh, I love this. That is so cool. Okay, I'm going to turn this off, get it out of the way, and we'll move on. I changed my mind, you guys. The laminator is still plugged in and is nice and hot. And the reason being is because I have these toner sheets from Therm O Web, and you use them with the Deco Foil. So you can die cut anything that you want. They're 8.5 by 11 sheets. Die cut anything that you want, and you can foil it, which is super cool. You don't have to use the paste for this. They're just toner sheets. So I've got the Big Thanks Sugar Script die set from Birch Press Designs. If these guys are still available, I will of course link them below, but use whatever you've got. We're just making a simple thank you card. I thought that this font went really well with this mod thing that we have going on. So I grabbed a piece of the same color that we used for the base of this, and I have a piece of toner sheet here. And what we're going to do is we're going to die cut the main focal part of the word, the top layer, with the toner sheet. And I'm going to die cut the shadow layer with this. And then we will run this through the laminator, and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to die cut this, and then we'll get this all foiled up. Okay, so this is die cut. I'm going to put this into my protective paper. I've got my foil to put on top. Make sure that that's covered completely. Yep. And we're going to run this through. Meanwhile, I've got my other piece here, my shadow layer, and we'll just pull this off. This is going to look so cool. So, I don't love how this spot, how the paste came out, which kind of marred up the foil a little bit. So we're going to put our thanks here because the rest of it looks pretty darn good. So I think we're going to, actually, we might just center it. I think that that'll work. Okay, so this is done. Let's see. Oh, look at that. I mean, come on, that's so cool. Uh-oh, we've got a little something something going on here. We've got some type of fuzz or I don't know what, but we're going to run that through again. And hopefully that will take care of that little problem. So I'm not really sure why that didn't work, but we're going to fix that with a rhinestone. We're going to just cover it up with the rhinestone. Or a sequins. That's what we'll do. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to adhere this down, and then we'll move on to some sparkly bits. So I've got the thanks adhered to the panel, and I added some metallic bronze sequins from A Color for Life Designs. This came out in April, this particular color. And now I've got my on point glue, I've got my pokey tool, and I've got my jewel picker, and we are going to adhere all of these sequins down. So what I did was I covered up the little blip that was on the H, and there was a tiny, tiny one on the K. And I thought that it would be better to have at least two on the word itself so that it looked more purposeful and not like, oh, she accidentally put one on the H. So what I like to do is I hold my glue in my right hand with my pokey tool in between my first two fingers, and then my jewel picker in my left hand. And this makes it really easy for me to pick up my sequins or rhinestone and then use the pokey tool to help get it off of the jewel picker. I don't know about you, but I sometimes struggle with that. This has got a little bit of adhesive on it already because I tried fixing that little oopsie. So it was a little stuck. Now we're going to hide the teeny dot that's on the K that I wasn't a fan of. And that was probably just user error, not the error of the foil. I always forget to like dust off the foil and my panels before I foil them. So that was probably my fault. So there was just some type of particle on there and I didn't remove it, and it's okay because we've hidden it. Now, I had said at the beginning of the video that I was going to cut this panel down, but I decided before that I wasn't going to because I don't think it needs to be. I think it looks cool just like that. So we're going to just adhere this down to our panel and call it a day. Although, I have to be honest, one of the reasons that I tend to cut down my panel so that I can ink the edges of my card base and just bring a little bit more of something into the card. And I feel like this needs just a wee bit more drama. So I want to add a little color to this with some like distress ink. So let me get my swatches here. I feel like it needs a little something deeper. I don't want to go super dark. So I don't even know if I want to use brown. I think that it might be too dark. This is Gathered Twigs. So in looking at my oranges, let's see what we have. I just think it needs a little bit more. Well, this might work. What do we got here? Is this Wild Honey? Yeah, that's Wild Honey. And then this is Fossilized Amber. I think the Wild Honey in the Distress ink is going to work out. Okay, so I've got that here. I've got my brush, and it's not going to affect the foil at all because it's going to act as a resist, but I think that we just need to deepen the edges. I don't even know. Yeah, you can see that. We might not even need to go around the whole thing. I'm going to do a little bit on the bottom here and see if that's enough. That might be enough. I got to be careful in my sequence in case they're not totally dried yet, but I think they should be okay. The On Point glue dries quickly. Just trying to avoid that large sequence there. Let's see. I think that does it. Do you see the difference there? I like it. Okay. I think that's good. All right, just a little bit more something. That makes me feel better. Okay, we got some Barely Arts glue here. That's what I used for everything else except for the sequence. I'm just going to apply this down to our card front, which is just white cardstock. And now we're going to try our best to line this up the first time and not have to peel it off. Pretty good. Okay. Folks, that's our card for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I think it came out really cool. Be sure to check out the entire new collection that was released for July from A Colorful Life Designs. It's super cool. And if you like this style, then this is a good month for you to check out the Master Bundle. If you're not getting the Master Bundle, make sure that you use my code ALFAN10. I'll have it linked below. And you can save 10% off of your order. So happy shopping. Have a great day. Be well. Stay safe. Peace out.